One Young World is exactly about that struggle. It is a search for the best leaders in the world. And you may not think of yourself as a leader, but if you have something that you want to get done, particularly if it is in the service of another person or people, your community, your university, your family, your country, your region, whatever it is, then you are a leader. You are a leader, and I would say to you, pick up that burden, pick it up. And remember this as young as you are. I was delighted to see on the agenda today a session on resilience. To my old eyes and ears, this has been a missing dimension for many of the young people with whom we work, and we have 15,000 brilliant young leaders around the world today, and some of them are here with you today, so make a point of meeting them.
Hello. I often find that obviously everyone's got their own thing going on, and like you said, looking after your own mental health isn't a selfish thing, but sometimes what other people do can trigger your own mental health, and a kind of trying to communicate that without kind of derailing them. How would you go about that?
Okay. Is that a question to us all? Is that a question to all? Okay. So this is actually something I really, really struggled with at the beginning of like, I really get annoyed sometimes when everyone's like, yeah, we should talk about it more, we should talk about it more. But no one talks about how we don't get taught how to listen. There are so many times you will open up and instantly regret it because you've opened up to the wrong person. Or like you said, that person might actually be detrimental to your own well-being. So what I tried to learn how to do was being able to acknowledge this idea of capacity. I know that sounds like a really awful word to use and it seems really clerical, but it's really good to be able to do it because it seems like we all know what the word capacity means. It means like you don't have what you need, or you're empty.
Thank you. And I think this leads really nicely into a question I'd like to ask Julia. So we're talking about the students as agents of change and as making decisions and hearing from them as experts in their own right, which leads on nicely to a project that I believe you're working on, Act Now Film. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that and what that has to do with students leading their own decisions?
Sure, thank you. So Act Now Film is a collaborative film project that seeks to amplify youth voices in climate change and the climate crisis. And it's produced jointly by Cambridge Zero and the IPR here at Bath with support from the UK University's Climate Network as well. And I think it does fit well with this theme of this panel discussion because it's all about the importance of having young people as equal participants in these discussions on how we can make a more sustainable future, which is ultimately their future, ultimately your future. So Act Now Film as a project was born in the run-up to COP26. And the idea was to bring together youth voices in a way that's powerful. And
I started working with One Young World in 2018, and I think the thing that I found most inspiring and enjoyed most about my experience with One Young World is really working with the student-led organising committee.
I attended my first summit in Manchester last year in 2022, and you know, you hear all this amazing stuff around the office. You hear how it's going to be amazing, it's going to be this awe-inspiring event, and you know, you really can't see that until you've been there. And I think once I attended that event and saw like the amazing moving speeches, Q&A panels, sessions, and just met so many people, met like so many of these like impactful change makers who are really, really changing the world, and a lot of them, like Meg here today, like she credited One Young World with the beginning of her story.
What I really like about One Young World is that it provides a platform for young people. So as young people are the most impacted by the topics that are discussed, whether it's climate change, education, sustainability, but yet they do not have the necessary platform when it comes to decision making, policy making, and actually like implementing the solutions for those problems that affect them in the first place.
I think sometimes as students we don't feel as empowered to kind of, when you're reading about like world news and things like that, you kind of feel quite disconnected. And I think this is one way to connect young people, students, to what is going on in the world, and essentially kind of inspire you to think about the future, think about how you can do things right now.
You know, the kind of message that you want to convey at One Young World is not a very explicit message. What you're trying to do is to create, or at least what I'm trying to do, is create an advocacy. And the only way that you can create that movement is a person at a time. So if you come and talk to smart young people that subsequently advocate the use of electric cars or hydrogen cars or e-fuel cars in their future because they've listened, because they've understood, and they understand that it's important, and that within their friends group, within their peer group, and as they become more and more important as they go into their careers, they can influence hundreds of thousands of people themselves. So, every oak tree starts with a seed. And what I'm hoping in talking to a forum like this is I can plant a few seeds of hope with young people that will take that forward and change the world.
Panelists today mentioned they're here to teach us their mistakes so we can learn and act on them in the future.
I encourage your voice, you dial up your voice. You make sure that your voice is heard and you're steady in that and you're confident in your voice, because nobody has your experience and perspective. But for people like me who are 2 or 3 decades older than you, it's not enough for us to say we want to hear your voice. It's genuinely, the world we're in now, you have the power. We need to hear from you, and not just hear from you, make space for you. The best thing people in my position can do now is, I'm just going to get out of the way and leave it to you. And so you may not have as many years on the planet as I have, or as much experience as my age has, but you do have an insight that we don't have. And if we truly believe in inclusion and equality and equity, that truly means we have to stop ageism on both sides. You're too old to have relevance and you're too young to have relevance. That's not inclusion.